Hi, this is Tim. Just going to go through our little filtering system here. She's not filtering right now. She just got finished, so I thought it'd be an easier time to kind of just go through how we do it, right or wrong. It seems to work for us. So what we usually do is we'll gather up enough stuff and we'll put it in these stock pots like this, and then we have a small milk. Used to call it a shotgun can, I believe. That holds about 3 gallons, and then we have 3 of these stock pots, so we'll accumulate enough, like 5 gallons. There's another one here. And then we use, excuse me, we use an electric cook stove just to warm it back up to about 190. And then it goes into this vacuum filter that we got over at Roth. So we dump it in the top up here. That's our hardest part, is because this is on a counter. It's somewhat tall enough. So we usually use a stool, and I know it sounds crude, but we can stand up there and pour it in. The first stock pot that you pour into it almost runs right through without any vacuum on it. The second one, you usually have to vacuum it, half of it probably. So it'll hold a couple of gallons at a time. And the vacuum is just a small canister vacuum that we've never used for anything else but this. That makes it kind of handy. And that hose is connected into the side of it here at the top of it. So obviously if you had more liquid and got up to here, we did it one time where we got some liquid into this suction line. But usually we kind of know how much we can put in. And this on the inside has a small fitting that has a top that's curved so the syrup can't come down and get caught and pulled in there. And then there's a valve at the bottom to fill your jars from, and we have a block of wood that we set here, and it's pretty close. So this morning, she's got some more jars lined up for later today, but this morning she did about 5 gallons, I think it is. So here's it's fun to show off the pint jars because they're this smaller jars. You see through them nicer, but she did some pints, and then here is a quart, which looks pretty nice through, especially with the maple tree out in the background. Cool. So that's what we did this morning. That was from last night's boil and a little bit this morning, not too much. So tonight I'm anticipating that we'll run, and there's enough to gather again today, that we'll run another 5 gallons of syrup out probably. So we're boiling here, and it's just below 7. We got a couple more minutes before we can run a little bit more out into our filter. And outside I just started up the RO. We just have a small single membrane RO. So I'm going to shut that off for a second. So when it comes into our bulk tank, we put it in on the top of the bulk tank. We have a hose, that blue hose, I guess it's laying there. We drape that down in there and put the sap in there, and then it has to come back out into this pump right here to go through this hose and up and over to our head tank, that tank that's up there. From there it goes across on this small blue line. I'll get on the other side of it here. From the head tank, and it comes in right up on top here, and then it goes out on top of the sample cups. It goes out through the blue line to the evaporator and enters right here into this float. And that little bit of ripple in the water, there's a flow like that all the time. We do about 20 gallons an hour of sap, give or take, depending on how hard you fire and what kind of wood you're using and what the weather is outside too. So back to the RO. So the RO draws off of the same line that we come from the bulk tank with this and over and into the RO on the small line. If they come in with a load of sap, we shut the small line off and turn on this line. Oops. After we tighten the fitting, we turn on this line, and this one would then go over into the pump because we've shut it off at the bulk tank. And it would go in the pump and then up into the top of the bulk tank. When we use our RO, we just recirculate into our bulk tank. We don't send it off to another tank because the RO will push it through faster than what we can boil, so we would run out of room. So it works this way, and we try to get the bulk tank empty between runs, if at all possible, or pretty close to empty. And then on our RO, it's just a very simple one. There's our pump, or motor and pump, and it comes up through just an ordinary filter like you'd have in your house, a simple water system. And we change this every day, every other day at the most, every day if it's a bigger day. It goes from there, or it comes in here through the filter down to the pump, from the pump into the bottom of the membrane or housing, and then it goes out. This is the concentrate coming out on this one and the permeate coming out on this line, and we bring the permeate over just into an IBC that we save, and then this hooks back up. This line comes down and hooks up to feed our senior moment. This line hooks back up to feed the RO so that we can rinse it, so we can run it and rinse it at night when we're done. And I kind of discovered last night, if I take the concentrate line, which has some pressure to it, when we're rinsing, I can rinse all of our gathering pails and get them all cleaned out. Otherwise, you know how they're always sticky for forever. Well, last night I thought, well, duh, you can just rinse them all off, and now they're kind of squeaky clean, which is kind of neat. I mean, that permeate is some pretty neat stuff. So that's how we do our RO process when we have enough sap to kind of justify it. If we only collect 100 gallons, it's kind of not worth firing it up, so we don't do it. But when you do need it, that's a lifesaver. So we are going to bottle some syrup. So we're going to run it through the filter. It's been heating on the oven, and it's up to 190 degrees, is it? You like it at? Yep, 190. It gets poured in through our filter, our vacuum filter, and we're going to show you how we do it. This is going to look a little weird because this sits so tall. It's 4.5, closer to 5 feet tall here. So we use a stool. As long as we don't slip, this is golden. When we slip, it's sticky golden. Delete that one. So if you listen around the film, will it pick it up? You can hear it filtering down through there. So these filters are filters that we just changed. So this first container of it will almost all run through there without using the vacuum, but she'll turn it on here for a second to get it down. So on the first 2 gallons, it goes down through there relatively quick. Maybe just touch it one more time and get down enough. So now that filter, or that vacuum filter, makes it real easy to draw out your quarts or pints or whatever kind of containers you're putting it in. It makes it so easy to bottle that for a small hobby operation like we have. It makes it so much nicer than the way we used to do it. Then we wipe the lid on top, and then she'll put a cap on it, get it tight, and tip it over, get it a little bit wet, and do it again. So this goes so much better than when we used to do it in the house. Remember, we used to take it in the house and boil it or get it hot again, and when you got done with the season, the cupboards were all sticky, and once in a while we didn't quite make it to the house with the pan either. I believe that this filter will hold about 2 gallons. We've never measured it. We were going to the other day and we didn't. Between 2 and 2.5 gallons, I think. But if I'm wrong, let me know. It holds that stock pot as much as you want to dump into it, so it seems like it's about 2 gallons. So that's kind of how we bottle up our syrup. When we draw it off from our evaporator or our syrup pan, we run it through 2 thin, I don't know if we can see them here, 2 thin filters and an Orlon filter, which you have to change kind of often. But this gets rid of quite a bit of the niter or the minerals in it, sugar sand, whatever you want to call it. So we run it out of there and just goes down into a bucket or stainless container, and then we'll accumulate a couple of those so we get 3-4 gallons at a time before we do it, and that seems to work pretty good. If you could just float that thing in there, if you held your fingers around it. So I can't lick it this time? Kidding. So this is a little bit thick. We're just testing our density here with a hydrometer, and our red line, we're at 60, let me read it here, 62 bricks. So we're a little bit thick on this. We'll put some sap in here or some near syrup to thin it down. Everybody gets rid of some more syrup. Now we're at 61 bricks. So we're just a little bit thick. It could be a little thinner, but our pot is full enough that we kind of have to stop there, which won't hurt anything. So what we would like to be at is our red line, which is right there, and that is 59 bricks. We'd like to be at 59. Most of the other batches have been. We've thinned them down enough, but it isn't going to bother anything. It's just a little bit thick. What's that?
It's not supposed to be between the two red lines?
It is. The next red line is further down.
Yeah, so it's perfect then.
It is, but the thicker it gets, the more chance it has of settling out and becoming crystallized in the bottom of your jar. It keeps fine, but it doesn't need to be that thick. But it'll be good. And you're good on temperature?
Yes.
Nice color, isn't it?
Yes.
For a quart jar.
Just like molasses.
No. Seriously.
Seriously. Thanks again for watching. See you later.